I'm going to show you how to do silhouettes for your cake. Like I said, you don't have to buy everything. I don't. I know a lot of us are home bakers, and I know that a lot of cake stuff can be expensive. So this is a shortcut that I use. I don't know if it will help anyone else, but here we go. So what I've done is I went onto Google and I just went onto the free templates you can get, and I'm actually doing a pizza pancake at the moment. So I traced these onto some parchment paper or baking paper earlier on, and then I cut them out onto cards, and then I don't know if we can bring the camera down or zoom in. I then cut them onto the fondant so we get like a silhouette. I also did my skyline, which is here, and that is what I'm just about to show you how to do. So if I put this back out of the way, so we take some fondant and we just roll the fondant out. Doesn't have to be round, doesn't have to be square, as long as there's enough fondant to get all the template on. So as you can see, I've rolled out my fondant. I'm just putting a little bit of extra cornflour. I like to use cornflour. You can use icing sugar as well. I just find cornflour doesn't dry out the icing, or the fondant, sorry, as much. Let me put that over there. And I just wipe my hands. So then we take our stencil, and it is a little bit of time consuming, but if it saves money in the long run, I'm all for that. And then all I'm going to do is just start cutting my template out. Like so. Sorry if a bit breaks off, because you can just stick it on when you come to the cake. Sometimes if the template is really big, you have to cut it in half anyway. So I've learnt not to stress. So you take this a little bit out, cut along. So remove all of this. Bit off, and fingers crossed. Right here, we just need to, if it doesn't come off first time, just run the knife again. It's just basically where it's not cut. Just pull that off like so. And like I said there, it's just come apart a bit, but that's on the cake now. And there is your silhouette skyline. Right, okay, we are now going to use our stencils to put on the cake. And as you can see here, what I've done is I'm using our template just to get an idea of where I want the stencil to go. Also you can see I've now cut my stencil, just basically because I think it might be a bit too much to put it all in one go. So I've just measured up where I want this part of my stencil to be. So I'm just going to take this out And then I'm just going to, along my stencil, because I airbrushed this, I don't want the, and it is dry, because I airbrushed it yesterday. I don't want it to run just in case, but we will put just a little bit along there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift up with my finger, and so there you can see I've got the stencil bit there. I'm going to take my next bit of stencil again, because I've got this and I know it's in the right place now. I'm not going to use my other bit of stencil, but I'm just going to pop this in, a little bit of water, and the water helps it stick as well. You don't need to use edible glue and icing for everything, so the water does just as good. So I'm just going to again slide it along, place it in, just make sure that that edge meets that, and I'm just going to give it a little rub down. Now you can see here that my tower bridge hasn't got the thing here, and that's because it came off when I was making the template. And all I'm going to do, I'm just going to rub a little bit of water along, and then I'm just going to pop it in, like so, and then just give it a little bit of a push, just to make sure it's in there. Now we're just going to stick our figures on, which again, I use the same technique as I did with my skyline. So I'm just going to put a bit of water on Michael, I believe the one who's with the teddy bear. And instead of having them all on the top, I'm going to put them around a bit. Okay, now I've done this, now I can't pick him up. So I'm going to place him just here. Right. Characters, which is Peter. If you can see here, I don't know if the camera can come in, I've just put a little marker so I know where the front of my cake is. So you don't have to, but on a cake like this I like to put a marker. So I'm just going to put my pan somewhere in the middle. And don't forget, don't worry, I haven't forgot about Tink. So I'm just going to place a bit of water, and like I said, you can always add a bit more water in a minute. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just sticking stars on there to our cake. I used just a little star cutter, rolled out some white fondant, and I'm just randomly placing stars. Okay, so what I've got here is some gold powder, and this is going to create our fairy dust. So I'm just going to put it just briefly around the cake. It doesn't have to be, it's just to create, to say that, you know, Tink's made her magic and everyone can fly. And I'm not even going to mind if I get a little bit on the edges. There's nothing in it, it's simply just powder, and of course I'm going to put a little bit more here because this is where our tink is going to be. So like I said, I'm not worried about it being, I'm going to try and get just a bit on the skyline so it looks like Tink's spread her joy everywhere. I think we'll just put, because it's Tink. Maybe a little bit more around pan. And there you go. Okay, well we're going to do the top now and I'll come back to you later.